The sign flickered weakly against the darkened sky, its neon glow barely cutting through the suffocating night. Whispering Pines Motel. The name sounded almost inviting, a promise of comfort in the middle of nowhere. But as Daniel pulled into the near-empty lot, an uneasy feeling settled in his gut. He had been driving for hours, the rhythmic hum of the highway lulling him into a near trance. He wasn't even supposed to stop here. His plan had been to push through until the next town, but the gas gauge had other ideas. The moment he spotted the old motel, nestled between towering pines that swayed ominously in the wind, he knew he had no choice. The lobby was dimly lit, the air stale with the scent of something vaguely metallic. A single bell sat on the counter, its surface worn from years of use. Daniel hesitated before pressing it, the sharp chime echoing unnaturally in the stillness. A man emerged from the back room almost instantly, as if he had been waiting. He was tall and wiry, with sunken eyes that held no warmth. His name tag read Walter, though it was barely legible beneath a layer of grime. "Evening," Walter said, his voice flat. "Need a room?" Daniel nodded. "Just for the night. Do you take card?" Walter's thin lips twitched into something resembling a smile. "Cash only. House rules." Daniel sighed but dug into his wallet, pulling out a few crumpled bills. Walter took them without counting and slid an old-fashioned brass key across the counter. "Room 6, he said, "and read the rules before you get comfortable." Daniel frowned. "Rules." Walter gestured toward an aged wooden plaque nailed to the wall beside the counter. The letters were carved deep into the wood, the edges darkened as if burned in. "Check-in is before midnight. Check-out is before sunrise. Do not open the door after 2:13 a.m., no matter what you hear. Ignore the whispers. They are not real. If you see her in the mirror, look away immediately. Guests must never, under any circumstance, enter room 13. Daniel scoffed. "Is this some kind of gimmick?" Walter's expression didn't change. "Follow the rules and you'll be fine. Enjoy your stay." Daniel rolled his eyes, grabbed the key, and made his way down the creaky wooden walkway to room 6. The motel was eerily silent, save for the occasional rustling of leaves in the wind. The bulbs lining the exterior flickered erratically, casting jagged shadows across the peeling paint of the doors. His room was exactly what he expected, small, outdated, and musty. The bed creaked when he sat on it, and the ancient television set hummed with static when he turned it on. He sighed, rubbing his eyes. Just one night. As he prepared for bed, his gaze flickered to the bathroom mirror. The warning on the plaque resurfaced in his mind. "If you see her in the mirror, look away immediately." He shook his head, scoffing at his own unease. It was just a stupid gimmick, a cheap way to make the place seem more interesting. Still, when he brushed his teeth, he avoided looking directly into the glass. The night stretched on, and sleep came fitfully. Then, at exactly 2:13 a.m., a sound jolted him awake. A knock, soft at first, then insistent. Tap, tap, tap. His heart pounded. The rule: do not open the door after 2:13 a.m., no matter what you hear. The knocking grew louder, more frantic. A voice followed, faint, desperate. "Please help me. Let me in." Daniel clenched the sheets. It had to be someone messing with him, or maybe a guest who actually needed help. He hesitated, but the plaque's words burned in his memory. "No matter what you hear." The voice turned shrill. "Open the door. They're coming. Please." Fingers scraped against the wood, long and sharp. The sound was unnatural, like nails on glass. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. He squeezed his eyes shut, pressing his hands over his ears. Then, just as suddenly as it had started, the noise stopped. Silence. Daniel sat frozen for what felt like hours, his pulse hammering in his ears. He dared to glance at the clock. 3 a.m. Slowly, hesitantly, he approached the door. His breath caught as he noticed something new. Deep gouges lined the wooden surface, as if something with impossibly sharp claws had tried to force its way in. A single word was etched beneath the damage, ragged and uneven, as though carved by a trembling hand. Run. The final night. Daniel's breath was shallow as he backed away from the door, his pulse thundering in his ears. He needed to leave. Now. But something in his gut told him it wouldn't be that easy. He grabbed his bag and bolted outside. The motel grounds were deathly still, an unnatural hush cloaking the air. Walter and the woman from earlier stood near the lobby, their eyes locking onto Daniel the moment he emerged. "You need to get out of here," Walter said. "Now, tell me what's going on," Daniel demanded. "What's in room 13? Who was at my door last night?" The woman sighed, her expression grim. "It wasn't someone. It was something." Daniel shook his head. "I don't." A noise cut through the air. A whisper, a low, insidious sound that seemed to seep into his bones. It was coming from room 13. The door creaked open, inch by inch, revealing nothing but a yawning blackness inside. "Don't look," the woman hissed. "Turn away. Now." Daniel's body locked up as an overwhelming urge compelled him to stare into the abyss of the room. A shadow moved within, shifting, growing, pulling at the very fabric of reality. The whispers grew into an ear-piercing shriek. Walter grabbed Daniel by the arm and yanked him backward. "Run!" Daniel sprinted toward his car. The motel seemed to warp around him, its lights flickering in rapid bursts. Shadows slithered beneath the doors of every room, reaching, grasping. He fumbled with his keys, his breath ragged, and threw himself inside. He didn't look back as he peeled out of the lot, the road stretching endlessly before him. The whispers followed, clawing at the edges of his mind. Then, just as suddenly as they had started, they stopped. Daniel glanced in the rearview mirror. The motel was gone, vanished, as if it had never been there. His hands trembled on the wheel. Had he imagined it all? No. The scars on his door, the whispers in his head, they were real. And deep down, he knew, Whispering Pines Motel was still out there, waiting for its next guest.